Well, let's see here. Usually I have the intro song play, but that's okay. That's all right. That doesn't have to happen. But
do you want it to play? We can kind of like sit here for a few seconds if you want.
If you want to do here, I'll do this. We'll do. I'll play the song. We're gonna dance for like 5 seconds, but then I'll cut it out. Here we go.
All right, I'm not gonna be able to hear the song, so I'm just gonna pretend I know how it goes.
It's a good song. Yeah. You know this. You know the tune. Yeah, there we go. That's a lot of books you have.
Yeah, they're real.
Guys, welcome back to another episode of Talking Shit with Nick. And today, I'm going to talk some highly intelligent topics with the one and only Robek. How are you doing?
Hey, good. How's it going? Thanks for having me here today.
I'm so excited to have you on here. This is because I've been watching a lot of videos and some of your old videos off YouTube too. I wanted to get the feel from you. Automatically, I wanted to see like your most popular one real quick, and it was the one where you threw down your drum set.
Oh yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Was there like a lot of? Did you dent anything on the stairs at all?
No, that was an apartment that I lived in, and the joke is mostly that it was like I saved up a bunch of tickets from Dave and Buster's to buy a mini drum set.
What?
I kind of set up, yeah. So it wasn't like even like a real like a good drum set. I just got a tiny one and then made the angle look like it was bigger than it was, and then rim shot, or I don't know what it's called. The bottom crash.
Yes, and that's what I was trying to play for you.
Yeah. But like you do that, if it's like a pun or somewhat of a funny joke, and this was inspired by the fact that I was getting inundated by just terrible garbage on one of the social media platforms I was on, and so I was just like, this is for when you make a really good joke, but it's bad, so it just pushed the drum set down the stairs. Yeah, it's pretty stupid.
I like that. I laughed. It was pretty good. That's the kind of humor I love. And then
excellent. The
one I really liked too was your monster smoothie.
Yeah.
And my favorite little Easter egg, I think it was the same video, but you're in your garage.
Yeah.
You're like, this is my lawnmower. That was a good YouTube callback. That was really good.
Yeah, it was that one dude who had all those ads.
I think Ty Lopez or something.
Yeah, look at you. You know your stuff. Yeah, because
here's my Lamborghini.
He has like the thing in front. He's like, yeah, I'm here. Like you can get here, just do a bunch of crap you'll never be able to do. Like, yeah. Totally.
All your books, read a book a day, like what you do.
Yeah, yeah, these are real books for sure.
Not gonna lie, Robek, I've only probably read 5 books my whole life.
That's okay. Were they books you read in school?
Yeah, and then not gonna lie, most of them I did like Cliff Notes or those things where you just read chapters. So
yeah,
my parents
are overrated.
My parents know now that I did that, so it's okay. It's all right though, because I was failing high school anyway most of the time.
Excellent.
How long have you been? How long have you been on YouTube?
I'm not really a YouTuber. I would probably say that channel started in 2014, but most of the content's from 2016.
Okay.
Some of the other stuff, like the Monster Boomer stuff, is like 2018, 2019. But generally, I'm not really a big YouTuber.
Okay.
Just most of the time, my stuff gets taken down because I use too much source material. So it's what it is.
What's your favorite social media that you use?
I use a social media site called it's not a site, it's a network called the Fediverse.
The Fediverse.
And it is a distributed social networking site. It's microblogging. It's just like Twitter, but very much like blockchain. There's a bunch of different nodes. So the site I use is called shitposter.club. It's actually where I met a bunch of people that taught me about a bunch of distributed system stuff that actually led to me getting into blockchain and doing all this stuff. But I got mad at Twitter. They changed the algorithm, and I was like, find an alternative. And so it landed on the Fediverse. And I joined the site, didn't quite understand how it worked at the time. But basically, I could spin up. It's like anybody who spins up a website or starts a web server. They can start their own server, and people can join it. And then you can follow people that are on other servers. But there's not like one centralized authority that like controls the network. So if you get banned on one site, you can go to another one. You can refollow your people. You can import your contacts. It's just it's like distributed social networking.
Okay,
pretty cool.
I was listening. Shout out to one of our local podcasts here in Idaho, Surface Void Podcast. But they're saying they had there's a new MySpace kind of thing coming out, I believe.
Interesting.
And I think you could customize your whole layout and stuff, just like, because that was my favorite part on MySpace was you get to it was your space. You got to change music in your background, so I love that.
Yeah, actually, I mean, it's kind of funny you mention it, because a lot of the stuff we were doing at the time, it's been trying to push things back to the mindset, or the MySpace mindset, where like you have some ownership on like how things look. It's not just all this sterile space that whatever company decides it should look like.
Yeah, it was so freeing, and like your top friends, and then something about the new messages and new comments like in your inbox, like that was so satisfying to see. Like that was the most satisfying thing. I don't know, it was ahead of its time. Shout out to Tom.
Yeah, Tom, real legend.
What was your first social media you ever got onto?
That's a good question. I mean, I guess it depends on what you consider social media. I was doing GeoCities stuff a long time ago, so like when I was on riding the bus to school and stuff, like we would set up these GeoCities sites, and we would have one for like we had our personal GeoCities site, which was like had a little micro blog on it that was like, hey, this is what I'm doing. GeoCities was a free hosting platform. You got 15 megabytes to upload anything to, and so you had to use all this like HTML4 at the time. And we'd just be like, my name is Robek, and these are all my friends. You can go check them out. This is the stuff I'm watching. I like Mallrats and Train Spotting and a bunch of shit I probably shouldn't be watching at my age. And then that turned into like, I'm going to set up an anime shrine. I love Trigun and Outlaw Star and crap. And then GeoCities kind of got shut down. So I think from there, you had like MySpace and Zanga were like probably more of the first like more official ones. I was on Friendster as well which was before Facebook. If you are aware of the Friendster story.
I do. Yeah, I think that sounds familiar. I
feel old now.
Actually, what year were you born?
I don't know if I can reveal that.
I'll let you know. I'll be open for you. I was born 1993. So if you could date yourself.
I'm older than you. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm older than you.
Were you trolling kind of on Twitter when you said you didn't know what anime was?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay,
yeah.
I wasn't sure because I'm like, whoa, this guy is really like out there, like just okay. So you like anime, of course, then.
Yeah, I mean, a majority of my collection in NFTs is anime-based stuff.
Okay, I've been seeing
all the creators that I follow and like talk to, and we like have this whole Animafia stuff. Like very, very honed into the anime scene. Well, not anymore. I don't like follow seasons or anything, but
okay,
I know what anime is.
Yeah, like when I was growing up, eating my honeycombs.
Yeah,
watching Dragon Ball Z. So that was my first. I think would you call there's a debate of like Dragon Ball Z considered anime or is it like a cartoon?
Yeah, Dragon Ball Z is 100% anime. Yeah. I've never even heard that debate.
You
What's
have
that debate
okay?
Even based on?
There's some people that like because it's so. I don't know because that the idea of it being too popular can't be like an anime thing. I don't know.
That's the absolute most insane thing I've ever heard.
Okay, that's what you like to say to all the people then that say.
Yeah, anyone
I'm on board with
that
you.
DBZ is an anime is a psychopath. They're just being contrarian for the sake of being contrarian.
What's your favorite Dragon Ball Z character?
I
used to like Piccolo.
Yeah, Piccolo's not bad. He's like the good dad in the show. And there's not many good father figures in the show at all.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like when I was a kid, I could have been like, yeah, my favorite is this guy or this guy. But the older I get, the more I look back on DBZ and think I hate every character because they're all awful people. I guess Krillin's all right. Like I like Krillin. He's pretty solidly consistent. Like dude, he's kind of
he's kind of the most normal one, I guess.
Oh, he's the strongest human there is.
Which is a cool perk.
Out of all of them, yeah.
He married an android.
Yeah, he's all right. He married a robot waifu. And,
he was ahead of its time because he's basically what we're gonna head to.
Yeah, basically. A lot of the characters earlier on, like Yamcha was super badass in Dragon Ball, and then like I don't know, the Raditz stuff, like in the beginning of DBZ is like really cool. All the characters kind of have a chance to shine and that sort of thing. But then once it turns into like power creep, DBZ power creep, it just gets a little bit ridiculous. So everybody, like Yamcha gets cast to the side, Tien, you never see them really much anymore. It's all about Goku and Vegeta just doing their thing.
Vegeta.
So, yeah. And Vegeta's cool. I mean, there's a lot of lessons to learn from it. You get to meet anti-heroes. The whole series is predicated based off of like anti-heroes who become good guys. That's the cool part.
There's something about Dragon Ball always has a special place in my heart growing up. And then I barely got into anime probably like a year ago, and my first one was One Punch Man, so I just watched that.
One Punch Man's very good.
I try to get my girlfriend to watch it, and first she enjoyed it, but still she's just like, "What the hell's going on here?" It's so crazy.
It's so referential. Like you have to have an understanding of like shonen anime to begin with. Like just like if you don't have DBZ as a primer, like or Naruto or like any of this stuff, it's very difficult to enter and understand the satire behind it.
It is funny though, seeing her observation, just like her watching something. And then, by the way, too, on this show too, I just love going off topic, just like talking.
That's fine. I don't even know what's the topic.
I don't think there is any topic. Just Robek's the topic.
All right, cool. Right on.
I was eating before I talked to you. I'm doing one meal a day because my girlfriend's sister's getting married, so we're just kind of shredding for the wedding. And I guess, I'm just starving myself basically. But I had a burrito. And I know you've been tweeting about burritos lately.
Yeah.
And I almost put it in the fridge right after I made it too, but I was obviously starving. What's the sweet spot of keeping a burrito in the fridge until you eat it?
Well, I think the secret here, I think the secret here is like normally I would reheat this stuff. I guess I like eating cold pizza and stuff out of the fridge like in the morning. It's like one of these weird things that you grow into.
Oh, you're a cold pizza.
Yeah. Yeah, well, like a cold pizza in the morning, guy, like for breakfast, like cold ribs in the morning. Like
ribs are great.
You can take dinner food and you can put it in the fridge, and then you can take it out in the morning as you're stumbling out because you've been drinking too much the prior night. You don't want to throw stuff in the microwave. You just need the protein, whatever. Like just cold food is technically breakfast, I think. But the burritos, I don't know if you have free birds wherever you're at, but like if you douse a burrito in queso.
You douse it?
No, it's in put queso in it, ingredient in the thing.
Okay.
That cold burrito would not be good if that queso wasn't in there because the queso actually kind of makes it like a cohesive cold meal.
Okay.
It's kind of like it's like a big stick of string cheese with rice and all the other stuff in it. Yeah, but like if you microwave that stuff, there's like a shelf life on because queso tastes good reheated. I guess it could. I don't know.
The burrito science.
Yeah. It's very, very scientific stuff.
What if on top of your head, maybe, what do you think is the best cold food after it's heated, like leftover? Would you say pizza is up there?
Probably pizza. Yeah.
I try to eat,
but not like.
Oh, go on. Sorry.
Not like hand tossed. Not hand tossed. It's got to be
a deep dish.
Domino's. No, like Domino's thin crust, like Domino's thin crust. That's the best cold. It's like a cracker with mozzarella and pepperoni on it at that point.
That's true. God, you know what? You're right. Because my number one go-to at Domino's, the thin crust. I think white sauce with chicken and spinach. Yeah. With some roasted red peppers. What about
that? Seems classy.
It's really classy. I need to get like a glass of wine with it usually.
Oh yeah.
Have you ever? As I'm getting older too, I want to try pairing wines with food, but I don't know if that's I don't know if I started too late. I don't think it's ever too late, but
I think that's one of those things people do when they run out of other things that make them happy. For me, like this is one of these let's say somebody makes it in NFTs and or they get to a point where they consider that they have a little bit of extra frivolous thing. Okay. How many posts do you see where they're like, I'm at this restaurant, like here's the spread on the table, blah blah blah. I've seen a few of them. I think the mindset is like, imagine if you have just so much wealth that you end up in the restaurant and you're just like, I don't even want to think about what to pair my meal with. Like, server, please just tell me which wine I should do. And they're going to be like, yes, take the expensive bottle of wine. We're going to give you the most expensive glass because it's going to be paired really nicely. I think most of the tasting stuff, you have to train yourself into believing it. It's like a skill set to train into. Whereas like an amber bock and a gyro, I think that makes sense. Like beer pairings, I'm not trying to be elitist here, but like select any number of domestic beers. They're all terrible, but like what goes better with pizza? Probably like Bud Light. I wouldn't do like a Amber Bock with that. With wine, it's just like, I don't know. Some's dry and some's not. Some's expensive, whatever. Like, you could do it. You should challenge yourself. I think it'd be a good treat. Treat yourself.
The only thing I've experienced with wine is when out of the wine box and you take it out. And have you heard the term like slap in the bag?
I don't know if I've ever heard the term slap in the bag.
You hold the bag and you hold it and you put like the nipple of the thing. Put in your mouth and you just slap it and it just goes down in your throat more. It's just it's a fun little party trick, I guess.
I mean, that's the way to drink wine. Box wine. I mean, wine is people. I don't know. I don't believe people when they say that like wine. It's like drinking the desert. So the box wine, it's like $5, does its job. Yeah,
it's pretty cheap and it does what it needs to do. You know.
Exactly. Yeah.
I like I see you drinking. Shout out Michelob.
I'm trying to save the extra 6 calories from Bud Light, so I'm doing the Mick Ultra tonight.
I like it. Do you ever drink hard liquor at all or anything like that? If you go out to a bar or something?
I kind of slow down on that. The older you get, the more that kind of starts to get to you. I was trying to do whiskey and bourbon for a while, to see if I could live that life. That was fine, but it was not healthy. So.
I've noticed getting older, the hangovers are rough. They're getting rough.
Yeah. Everything gets a little bit more rough. Your tolerance goes down.
My knees start to hurt. I don't know why.
Yeah,
so I'm just like, geez. One time when I was me and my friend, shout out Brandon, we went out to a bar and we wore leather jackets and we wanted to drink scotch just to look cool. And we got our scotch and it wasn't the best tasting ever. It was really harsh. I don't think we finished it. But
I'm sorry to hear that.
Just to order scotch on the rocks though, just, it seems nice.
Yeah, I think it's one of these things like hard liquor is nice if you're going to take it slow, you're going to have a nice chill night, whatever. But I was recently went out with a bunch of my friends that were my age. We went out to a place here in Austin called Pinballs, and we started, normally we just do beer, stick with the beer. But we went full on like postgraduate mode where we were like, okay, after 4 beers, let's hit the tequila shots and the absinthe and the whiskey shots, and it was fine until it wasn't, and it was a major reminder of you can keep it classy, order the scotch, you don't have to drink it all, but just stick with the scotch. Anything else is going to you're signaling to the people around you that you are not okay.
My first experience with wine too, I think someone poured it in a cup, and instead of sipping on it, I just, chugged it because I chug everything. So I just that was not the way to go.
Yeah.
I got humbled very quickly with the wine.
But this is why I'm on the light beers. Like anything else at this point in my life, it's just too much. I can sip on these or chug them and they don't do anything. It's like water. So, but I get to pretend that I'm doing I'm drinking. So I
guess the story I'll tell the youngins, just, you don't always have to go too hard. If you don't want to, the more you go, just have some.
Stay coherent. Yeah.
The more I have a lot of nights where I'm just like, where the hell? What the? And when I wake up, I'm like, I don't remember falling asleep. Those are the most scary nights for me.
There's nothing fun about that, right? So
no. What's you growing up? Have you you said you're out in Austin? Are you from Austin?
I am not.
Okay. Growing up though, were you always drawing and stuff? Drawing and creating art and doing even movies and stuff and all that?
Yeah. I mean, well, again, the video stuff is not so much. Well, I guess in high school we were doing some of that, but from being a little kid and stuff, you draw your Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers and stuff. And then it actually shifted into doing anime stuff when I started getting into that. There's Dragon Ball Z art and stuff from trips or not trips, just a certain age group or Pokemon or whatever, and all that kind of stuff is just kind of gone on. I did webcomics for a really long time in high school and early in college, and met a lot of really cool people through that, and used to go to conventions and do Artist Alley. And so it's interesting, a lot of this NFT stuff is very similar to the hustle from 10 years ago, I'd say 10, 12 years ago, where it's how do you get yourself seen in the webcomic sphere? There's 10 billion people doing them, or what's the differentiator? Oh, these are 7 people that I really like a lot. Let's all form a collective and start doing stuff under the same brand heading. And I don't know. It's kind of it was training, it's training for today.
Cool. Did you were you like as like being an artist? What was your experience of when you saw, for our listeners and visual seers? I guess that's what I'm gonna call them, visual seers. But like Robek, I guess your most people would know you from Curio Cards too, as being from NFT, or like what's another big thing too that people might know you from that you think?
Well, yeah, I mean, it kind of is interesting because I think the Curio audience knows me from Curio.
Yeah, but everyone
else out there sees me as a collector.
Okay.
I've got something like 2,000 something pieces, like the 1,000 101s, like in my collection. Like,
okay.
I've been very active in like a lot of the artist advocacy stuff. So, it's always interesting because on most of the shows or things that people ask me to talk about myself, like I don't know if you watched the NFT NYC like clips that were put together.
I don't think I saw that.
Yeah, I mean, come in and like I was presented as an artist, but most of the stuff is talking about as like a perspective as a collector. So, but yeah, I think it just depends on where you enter the space from.
What was do you remember your first NFT that you purchased?
Yeah, that I purchased,
or that you even got, or
well, I think that I purchased were early Curio cards.
Okay,
right, like because
so you actually bought them.
Yeah, I was one of the 8 people actually participating in Curio in 2017.
Jeez, that's so
like,
cool.
Yeah, like I've told this story multiple times, but my friend Moon got me into it. Met him on Shit Poster Club, distributed network stuff. We're going back to the beginning story stuff. He's like, hey, you might like this stuff. This kind of makes sense. Like these are like digital collectibles, and I'm like, oh, cool, yeah, this is great. So then, yeah, hopped into Ethereum space, learned a bunch of stuff. Got involved in the Curio community, which was very small at the time, and just started talking to people every day. And yeah, I bought all the cards as they came out.
That's so cool.
So, yeah.
And then when did you get into cryptocurrency?
What did I get into it?
Or when did you get into cryptocurrency?
Oh, like
same time or right like before that?
Well, it depends on how like you quantify like cryptocurrency. Early on in Bitcoin stuff, the same story as like everybody. It's like, oh, this is cool, but I'm never going to spend this. Like, it doesn't make any sense doing this. So I'll just fuck around with this Doge faucet. And so like I was doing like Doge faucet stuff, and like I dug up keys from like I don't know what 2014, 15 or something like that that I had. And so I had some Doge, but like when getting seriously into it and like catching up and stuff wasn't until probably the beginning of 2017 when we started doing this. When Ethereum was starting to see some actual traction.
That's I think my first cryptocurrency experience was Doge. Like I knew, of course, you knew Bitcoin like in the headlines and stuff. But like my first purchase, I had like 69,000 shares, and of course I sell it before it blows up. So I was like,
yeah. I mean, a lot of this stuff is the education, the resources aren't really there early on. So you're fucking around with it, and it's cool. But like, am I supposed to lose like these keys? Like, what am I supposed to do at this long term? I didn't want to spend any money on it. I didn't have any money. I was like living paycheck to paycheck, broke college student. Like, any number of investment at the time wasn't like something I was willing to take the risk on.
Yeah, you're like, this could have gone to Domino's Pizza.
Yeah, that could have been. Yeah. I mean, that's why you dated. That's why I was dating the Domino's Pizza girl, just so you can get free pizza, right? No, I'm just kidding. That wasn't the whole.
That's great. That would be that'd be a good restaurant, or maybe I might do Texas Roadhouse just because of the rolls. Yeah,
Texas Roadhouse is pretty good. You got good potatoes.
I'm trying to get. I'll take any sponsors too. I'd be sponsored by like even. I don't know. I've always had that question in my head, like if I could choose one company to sponsor me, but that's just too hard. Maybe I don't want to be too like over the top with maybe like Ferrari.
Ferrari, yeah.
Do you have? Yeah. Do you? I interviewed Adam McBride not too long ago.
Yeah.
And I saw it. That's where I saw your honeycombs to it thing. But he was talking about how he's working for some music NFTs too, or like a company that goes through that. What do you think of like the music industry part of the NFT space?
I mean, I'm friends with a lot of artists, like musicians that are working on like ways to deal with that. I think it's an interesting emerging potential marketplace. excuse me, I think that one of the things that kept me away from re-entering NFTs like after Curio was
okay.
I had this pervasive fear that NFTs were just going to become worse DRM instead of like the vision I had of like these distributed assets being leveraged across like multiple like games and applications and stuff in a variety of ways. And so I didn't want it to be like, okay, well, you can only watch this movie if you own the NFT sort of thing. Now, my thinking's kind of shifted a lot in this, and that like if you buy a game, for instance, like a digital game, right now there's no secondary market, you can't resell that. But and so as you see more and more companies shift to like digital games, it's like, well, I buy this for $60. The company loves it because they don't have to deal with GameStop, which they fucking hate secondary market and physicals. But I think NFTs have an opportunity. Oh, I can buy this cartridge, the game as an NFT for $60. When I'm done with it, I can relist it. The publisher can get a percentage of the cut. I think the same kind of principles can go into music in a lot of ways too.
Okay.
I think that I've seen a lot of really interesting perspectives of like my friend Sergeant Slaughtermill, and he has like he's talked a lot about like music NFTs is like a really good way to do like deep cuts or like releases and stuff that you wouldn't like just see automatically put on Spotify. It's like incentive for like the people who are super fans there. I've seen a couple of other guys. It's a huge list of musicians iterating. I don't know. There. I think as we're in this art experiment phase where everybody's like, okay, well, this is an ape because it looks like an ape thing. It's hard for musicians to kind of like visualize like what this looks like, but there's enough like really cool work happening that I think that somebody's going to nail it at some point. So I think there's a space for it. I just don't know. I'm not as embedded in the music industry as I am in like understanding like gaming or media or things like that. So,
I was wondering this because I saw too of like, there's like a Bored Apes band with like, there's like going to be, but I was thinking though, that's basically the Gorillas.
Yeah. I mean, and also it's not like, who cares? They have NFTs and maybe they've purchased them and they've put them together. I mean, we've had this kind of concept since ages ago. What was it? The Monkees, like the Beatles, like style, like band that was like produced by a entertainment company that had a TV show, like the Monkees. They're not real. they didn't exist. They were actors playing a band. Like, and that's cool. Like, if the NFT band is. Are they an NFT band because they're going to release some albums, which will basically most likely just be DRM access to the downloadable files if you have this thing in your wallet to be able to download it? I guess that's complicating a process that already exists. That's not necessarily solving the problem. Now, the cool application of that is that you can resell that license versus like you can't do that with a one claim code. But like, yeah, if they're just using apes as their avatars or whatever, like, it's not transformative, I don't think. And I'm not shitting on the idea of it. Like, it's good for the PR momentum for the apes, I would say.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily a transformative use case. There's stuff like, there's a guy I really like named Yuri Beats, and he is like a fantastic musician, really good visualizer of the work that he produces as well. And he's got like a lot of really awesome ideas on how to do stuff. Eager to see how he pushes stuff out. Another guy named Aegis Creator, like he does a lot of like symphonic metal stuff, and
that's cool.
He's constantly like trying to figure out like how can we make this more of a, I don't know, they're more than DRM. Like what's the solve to make NFTs more than just digital rights management?
Okay, I see. Yeah, I see that. Something about the future is so exciting. Like when people talk about how we're so early still in this, like even you were like, and all the other like with you at that time was so a part of its time, and now we're here and we're still early. Like I thought that was crazy how the Staples Center turned into Crypto.com Arena. Like it's taken over. It's inevitable, I feel like, but it's crazy to see it happening like in this fast, I guess. And it's Oh, go on. Sorry.
No, I mean, I didn't even hear the Staples Center stuff. For me, from my position and how I participate in the space, I'm constantly thinking about, well, and my background is marketing in design. Like I'm was a designer, I was creative director, do marketing stuff now. Like I've been across a bunch of like different put things out in front of people things.
Okay.
And what we have to constantly contend with is, am I being marketed to, or is this something that's actually solving some sort of problem, or is this something that's transformative? Just because somebody throws $25 million at purchasing a stadium doesn't necessarily mean that's anything other than a big ad campaign to get you to use their platform.
Yeah.
Which obviously is the same reason it was called the Staples Center before us, because go to the Staples. But that's not, I mean, that's just people spending the money to do the thing. The Times Square ads during NFT at NYC were super cool. See NFTs on those things. But you also have to think about it. Who are the people that had the money to come in to buy the NFTs in the first place? Probably people who work in these big giant organizations. Mm-hmm. And so when you are buying ads to put in Times Square, you're basically giving the money that you have received from the people that are taking the money, like paying you for your work, and then giving it back to them to display it to everybody else. Like, and that's fine. Advertising works, and there's a reason people do it. But like, how can we move this beyond just like, oh, we're gonna have these tech companies come in and do this. We're gonna have these like traditional things just come in, and like this is just a fad. I don't think it's just a fad. I thought in 2017 that like, okay, nobody gets this shit. So I noped out of it. I was like, well, it's going to be 10, 15 years until everybody understands any of this. So I'm going to work on other stuff, and then hopefully people will start to get it. I think people are starting to get it, but as people start to get it, people are going to be like predatory towards, well, not necessarily predatory, but there's a profit thing. Like, what are we here for? What do we want the future to look like? Do we want the future to look like Steven Spielberg's Ready Player One, or do we want the future to look like the actual like work that's actually based off of, where we like distributed islands of like creative personalities and tribes? Like we're building tribes right now through like, whether it's profile pictures or one-on-ones, or like these, like even these conversations like this. I'm sure we're not going to stop communicating after this podcast. Yeah. So like we're opening a dialogue. How does that dialogue continue? Is this dialogue something that we're opening up because you're going to get clicks? I don't think so. I mean, I think you'll get clicks, but what I mean is like, I don't think like that's the reason to have me
the end game or
yeah. And so we are living in the future. We're moving towards the future. When people say they're early, I don't think about we're early from the perspective of we're early from, oh, we can make a shitload of money. I think we're early because we're around for the advent and the growth of the internet into what it is today. Yeah. There was a time when things were really just created by all the users, before you had the Facebooks and the Twitters and like these services that have kind of condensed the web down. So when we are early, we are early enough to influence the direction that Web3 actually goes in. So we don't continue to repeat the mistakes of Web2. That's what early for me means. Okay. And so, yeah, when you give me a platform, I'm just going to push on my cultish like mindset on anything to talk about this, because I think it's important. Like, there's nothing wrong with profit. There's nothing wrong with making it. Yeah. Like, I think those are really admirable goals if you're not doing off the backs of other people. But I think once you make it, what do you do then? How do you continue to like give others the opportunity to like do this and not just turn it into worse internet again?
And then you're like up in your head, and then you're just asking the waiter what kind of wine pairs with your food.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It's crazy. No, oh man, do you think, no, like when you say about living in the future and stuff, I can't wait a little bit later too, when I'm talking to you like Star Wars, when we have like a hologram round table or something. Do you see that happening sooner, or do you think that's a little more reach? That's kind of a reach.
I don't think it's a reach. I wrote an article in 2017 that's pinned to my profile. I don't know if you had a chance to read it. It's called Digital Dreams Are Made of Wires and Things. And basically, I talk about Facebook, and I talk about Google, and I talk about VR, and I was like, and I lay out like, this is what Facebook is going to do, because they just spent $1 billion on Oculus tech, and there's a reason for that. And I basically lay out like, early on, to get people on board, you have to have technology that's cheap and is accessible for like VR. Nobody wants to hook up 1 billion fucking sensors in the corner of their room, wear a big giant thing. You have to make it condensed enough to where you just slip the thing on and you're good to go. But the sell isn't going to be games for everybody. The sell is going to be, hey, we have these virtual offices where you can feel like you can interact face to face, and like, hey, I'm here and I'm participating in boardroom meetings across the, like, with people that are in Tokyo, and I'm in Chattanooga, Tennessee or something. And I mean, that's kind of the direction that they've actually gone, which is hilarious to see. Like, they're following this like step by step, but it's the only obvious path to make that kind of thing realized. And so this Star Wars roundtable Sith Senate conference thing isn't like sci-fi influences a shitload of the stuff that we actually put into technological development. I have a friend who argues, and I think he might be right as well in some ways, AR is going to be more accessibly easier to use than VR. Just from the perspective of you don't have to wear the headset. You can maybe put your phone down, and then one of the 14,000 cameras on the iPhone can just spit the hologram up. Like it's like there, and that may make sense in some settings, but like, I think that's totally 100% a reality. It's kind of boring if we're only going to hang out and like sit chambers, boardrooms, talking to each other. But got to start somewhere.
Yeah, that's true. It's just weird to think like how technology moves so fast. Like if I would have showed my grandpa like the iPod, I'm like, you could put all your music in here, he would have shot himself. Like he would have. It was just like I remember him hooking up the dial up. And he's like, you got to see this. He's like, it's the internet. And I'm just like, internet. Yeah. I'm like, Internet Explorer. I'm like, what the hell? I'm going to go back to PS1. But like, there's something, that's just like what? That was like 20 years ago, basically. A little more, 1996 maybe even, or even before that. There's already sending text messages before that. But like, it's just weird what's going to be in the next 20 years. Whereas NFT is going to be, is like, cash even going to happen, or coins, like physical coins even going to be here? I always just thought that was interesting to me. And I don't know, just something about using cryptocurrency in the future, like maybe we would not, like, I don't know how like using the dollar would be in the future. I don't know, it's just weird to think about.
Yeah, I mean, I spend a lot of time thinking about a lot of this stuff. I don't really want to get into too much of a path down that way. A lot of it's gonna, like, we sit back and we're having fun trading NFTs, and like we see a little bit of the SEC stuff or like whatever, like the regulatory pressures coming, and we're like, oh, somebody's gonna take care of that. Well, if that's not the case, like no one's going to take care of it unless we start talking about it and like actively engaging people. Mm-hmm. And so my fear is more like, okay, well, this technology is cool. Regulation isn't bad. Regulation isn't inherently bad because it sets a framework for operation. I mean, a lack of regulation makes it impossible to understand how to operate. And when there's a lack of regulation and people are enforcing imaginary regulation, that's a problem. And so if we're not there, like inserting our voices as actual users of this technology, then yeah, great, cool. We'll have a really great digital dollar that, is like a barcode thing or something like that, and it will be locked down and not decentralized and not allow us to have access to all this other stuff, and it will have your social credit score on it and all this other crap. Like there's ways forward that are super exciting, there's ways forward that aren't, but it requires people to participate in the broader things outside of just the quick rich stuff.
That when we like say the credit check and all that, like I always think of Black Mirror episodes of, I hope
they did a good job. Yeah,
I know, right? And did you hear about they didn't want to release more episodes because they were afraid they were going to mess up people's heads, like of where the world's going. And they're like, oh, we're going to pull back. I think that's why they only did 3 episodes this season, or like the last season. So
that's not surprising. I mean, it's part of that's a little bit ego, part of it's a little art. Like it's like oh, we're so good at predicting the future that we're gonna create evil tech villains, which would be a Black Mirror episode in itself. Yeah. Imagine you're an entertainment company making it a dystopian future thing, and some tech guy's sitting in the back just like stroking his chin and like, there you go. That would be a great episode. They should make that one. That would be a really good way to wrap the whole thing up. But there's a lot of it. Some of it's hyperbolic, some of it's not possible. Yeah. There's stuff that I think about a lot. The second episode, not the pig fucking one, but like the second one with like the treadmill, like you're in the room, you're doing these things, earn the points and stuff like that. Like that with your like, this guy was rude to me one. Like those Black Mirror works is a really good experiment. And like if you take the dystopian aspect from multiple episodes, it kind of paints a picture of where things could go if we don't start the conversations about it. Like yeah, Oculus is cool. We can put it on our headset and immediately get into these places. But do you want to get hit with an ad immediately the second you put this thing on? And what's the next? Well, like, how far does that go down the road? Like, well, how like you can get Oculus for free, maybe. Yeah. But you have to watch 2 hours of allotted advertisements per day to be able to continue to keep it. Like these are paths that are potentially possible as if we as consumers allow them to be. But people can't make, like, you can't just put that out there and then people like, oh yeah, I want the 2 hour ad headset. If people like, you have
That's such a funny idea.
Well, we just have to be aware, I think, to a certain degree, and just like, tech has made it a lot easier for all of us to do a lot of things, but there's also people behind it. So like, what's the end game?
Yeah. There's that one, talking about the future too, the one that scared me the most, and then I see it happening, is the Boston Dynamic robots.
Oh yeah,
and those dogs, they'll look exactly like the same in Black Mirror. That's all I'm saying. It's just scary.
Well, the Boston Dynamic ones were before. That's been a project that's been like the past decade. So like obviously,
Black Mirror took it from Boston Dynamics.
Yeah, Black Mirror got the
they're not the Simpsons.
From Black Mirror. yeah, it wasn't as but they aren't wrong. Boston, whatever, didn't come, like, the whole goal was to make military like base bots. It was not like they were cute when they were showing the early prototypes. They're running on treadmills
until they're killing.
Until they have like machine guns on their back. But that was always the point. And to be realistic, AI tech, in my opinion, is not good enough at this point to be a genuine threat. Though there are a lot of people that I look up to that do see a future where AI gets good. It isn't stupid. There's a lot of dumb AI currently. It's not really AI. It's like bad Mad Libs, I guess. Where you put input output based off of how much stuff is trained into it, but it's not like great. But like, you wouldn't want to actually send a Boston
Dominoes, Boston Dominoes.
Yeah, Boston Dominoes into like a war zone right now. A lot of this is tech spec military stuff for budget to like develop things like 20 years down the road, or like things like that. But you know, at some point, is war actually going to be like physical war? I mean, I would say in the past 5 to 10 years, if you just look at the way the media operates, we've like, especially I think probably since 2014, 2015, as you see like all this geopolitical nonsense around elections and stuff like that. Most of these wars are information wars now, because we are all so interconnected, and we don't necessarily know who anybody is, who they are, say they are, or whatever, or like, and we are self-isolating ourselves to bubbles that we agree with. Basically, there's ways to infiltrate those things and like create pressure through persuasion. So they're like, we're still like, the United States is still occupied territories. You still have like countries like, I'm going to move my tanks over here or whatever. And there's still a physical threat, but a majority of, I'd say, war right now is all cyber warfare.
Okay.
I'm not trying to sound like a conspiracy theory.
No, you're. I love it. Like, I love it.
Well, but I think that's what you see. Like, I think this is actually the reality of things. It's much easier to influence large swaths of people to like a certain mindset through information sharing than it is to like just go in and start shooting people. Like that's the greatest. Shooting people is the worst way to like convince anyone of anything.
Hopefully, like in the perfect future, we all just see how stupid this is, and then we're just gonna make robots to fight each other, and then we'll have bragging rights, you know?
Yeah. We're just gonna do battle bots.
Yeah,
like, let's have that.
Sock and boppers, you know, just with robots. It'd be great.
There's a Gundam series, I think, called G Gundam, where they have
Gundam's so great.
Yeah. I think G Gundam, the whole premise of it is each country has a giant robot, and they send their champion out, and they fight it out at a tournament.
That's way more badass and more satisfying.
That's way cooler.
That means just build a better robot. We're not. Yeah, you don't have to freaking nuke anything.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, maybe we'll get there. I think this is one of the things that keeps me hopeful about like NFT space and some of these. Like every time I found a new technology space, is that the people participating in them are from all over the world, and we're just like focused on the fucking tech side of things. It's like super cool to like. It's inspiring. So my hope is that at some point everybody just shuts the fuck up, gets off of Facebook or Nextdoor, and stops complaining about somebody who has Christmas lights out in November and starts like, how can I add some creative value to the communities that I want to be a part of, because I don't actually have to deal with my dumbass neighbor that I'm going to complain about all the time. Like I can remove myself from that sort of thing.
Yeah, we're all living the same life. We got to stop just we gotta stop making up bullshit and just like we gotta do cooler stuff. I like my biggest dream is to have what from Back to the Future when they put a tiny pizza in the toaster oven and it turns into a full pizza. That's the future I want. No,
I want Star Trek replicators sound cool. People are like, where are they gonna get the protein for that shit? Fuck off. Where are they gonna get the protein from McDonald's? Like whatever. Like,
that's the real questions. We need to be at the table.
So whoever
Tank idea. Yeah, I always thought the one thing where I think it was a Family Guy episode where Quagmire takes a pill and because he has to take a shit, but he takes it and then it goes away. That's perfect. I don't know where it goes or something, the science behind that, but I think that's the future I want to be. No, I'm glad. I think we're at a very interesting, cool time to be alive and like seeing everything. Like I believe we're both basically like in the same generation, like there, but like we're there before the internet and after the internet. So it's cool to see the progression of technology like that. I think it's not many people could say that. I
think we have a really interesting perspective in that we grew up during the advent of this big shift that we've recently seen in technology. Like we were, for me, we had VCRs and we had like stupid bullshit, and then we transitioned, into CDs and like dial-up, and like we moved to BBS was moving away when I started using the internet. So my dad was doing that stuff, but I was using AOL early on, but I still get to see the kind of stuff that my dad's using. And we have a unique perspective, I think, because we weren't necessarily born into the internet as it stands now, where you have Instagram or Facebook or whatever. Zoomers have good perspective too, even though the internet that they may be aware of, like that they're participating in, has been very heavily gated compared to the kind of like earlier, broader thing. But I think the insight that Zoomers have is like they think everyone's full of shit, basically, and they're adding a certain level of cynicism that when they are discovering systems like this distributed tech that we're doing now with blockchain, they are getting to experience kind of now, like even in their early adult ages, the same excitement that I was getting to experience as like a 6-year-old or a 10-year-old of like, oh shit, I can make my own website. Like, so it's kind of cool. Yeah, and like I think people give like a lot of shit to some of these people because all you know is Facebook and Instagram but they understand the game, they understand algorithms. So, but now those people are able to branch out and kind of like take those lessons and like, what can I do if I don't have to deal with it? Whereas we are able to bring in insight of like, this is what we did when we didn't have to deal with it. I think it's like a perfect coalescence of like generational stuff. I'm sure there's something positive to say about Gen X and Boomers, but I just don't have anything on top of my head. My friend Moon is a really awesome Gen X dude, and he's taught me everything I know. So
there you go.
But yeah,
no, I think the social media I think the perfect social media thing hasn't been created yet. Obviously, I think these are all still great blueprints. Until
the Matrix. Yeah, the Matrix is the perfect social media platform.
Shit. Yeah. Did you see the preview? The trailer.
I have.
It's kind of different. He looks like John Wick.
Well, he looks like John Wick in everything he's been in since John Wick.
It's so yeah, I know. It's just like that's what he looked like in Cyberpunk. So I'm like, all right, just keep it. But it's funny though. It's just like a weird crossover.
He looked like John Wick in the new Bill and Ted movie. It's just like everything is him being John Wick these days.
I mean, it works. I guess. It was just funny seeing him with. I wonder. It would have been funny if they CGI'd like a fade cut for him instead of just the long hair.
Yeah.
Did you watch? Speaking of like. Or are you big into like, as when you're saying like webcomics and stuff, were you big into like Marvel and all the DC and all that, or?
A long time ago, yeah. I mean, not a long time ago, but like late 90s Spider-Man, X-Men stuff like that was
amazing. Spider-Man theme song. That's one of my favorite themes.
Yeah, but not even like the TV show stuff. Like there was some really good like you had the Todd McFarlane runs of Spider-Man and in the mid 90s. You had You had the Amazing Spider-Man, which wrapped up. Well, you have it back. Like they constantly bring this shit back, but I think 90s Marvel, and not just from like a nostalgia perspective, but just like 90s Marvel had a lot of really interesting stuff going on. Peter Parker Spider-Man was like you start to get this kind of like gritty, psychological stuff that you see in comics now, where it's like, okay, well, this is a little bit darker than you were dealing with before. I was a big Marvel guy. I wasn't a big like DC guy. DC stuff. I'm not really into comics anymore. Generally, Alan Moore kind of turned me off to him when he wrote a big paper about how most mainstream comics are incestuous, and then it made me like feel
oh no,
oh, you might be right. Well, basically,
kinda...
you have fans writing comics and they're referencing things from like 60 years ago, and like because of that relationship, it's impossible. Like
it's not dated. It's in a way.
Well, it's like you're not telling stories. You're having, instead of somebody coming in with like an interesting story,
right,
like built from scratch and then like making it into like a superhero thing, you're coming in and you're flexing your knowledge of superhero history, and you're making references to things that happened 50, 60 years ago.
Recycling stuff.
Yeah, you're just recycling things in a lot of ways. But yeah, I was super into them. And like when I was one of the webcomics that I can't really get into this because I don't want to dox myself yet.
Yeah,
but
you know.
In mid 2000s, there was a community project that I was working on that was based off of one of the big giant Marvel events that was going on. And like we had a whole bunch of artists participate, and it was super cool. And like that's how I met a ton of people and started doing conventions and stuff like that.
Oh, that's cool.
And so like, yeah, I have a pretty heavy like respect for the medium. I think that as things become more and more commercialized, it makes it difficult to take it as authentically. There's still good stories that come out that I'm sure I'm missing.
Yeah.
But generally, what's the goal for this? It's just sell more books.
I don't think not many people. I've heard some people saying they weren't too blown away by the new trailer for Spider-Man, but it was cool. I think it's a hot take, but Tobey Maguire is my favorite Spider-Man.
I think Tobey Maguire is awesome. I don't think it's a hot take. I thought it was. I think the Sam Raimi Spider-Mans are really, really nice. Like
Sam Raimi, I love them so much. I think suit looks.
We didn't have.
Oh, go on. Sorry.
I actually, as a kid, I remember hating the suit, but now it's like whatever. But I think without the Sam Raimi Spider-Mans, we wouldn't, and I guess the Christopher Nolan Batmans.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have the kind of like cinematic superhero universes that we have today. Both kind of did the right thing. Like Spider-Man is not about a guy wearing a spandex costume spinning around. It's about Peter Parker being like a regular fucking dude that everyone relates to. And
yeah.
Tobey Maguire does a great job at like representing that character and still giving off a little bit of like Spider-Man's insecurities. He projects through sarcasm and like wit, but he's like, he's got like levels of like he's fucking depression and like doesn't believe in himself. Like it's I don't know.
He's the most down to earth superhero, like, because he'd be saving the world, but he's also broke as shit. He's not a Clark Kent, or he's not anything.
He does it because he was instilled a curse through principles from his uncle, and it guides everything that he does. And it doesn't necessarily mean he wants to do it, and he deals with it through humor. One of the things I didn't expect to be doing in the NFT space is talking about the psychological profiles of superheroes right now.
Right now. Yeah. Hey, that's what happens on Talking Shit. We just go off the rails. With the NFT space, like this would have never happened. So I'm just like,
no, yeah.
Like I would have never, like, yeah, I would probably never gone into my way getting into NFT space. Gary V gave me a curio card. So
oh, nice.
It was for my birthday. I just randomly asked for it on Twitter. Like Twitter's like internet's just crazy, and I asked for it, and he's like, yeah, just give me your ETH address. And of course, I didn't even have an ETH address yet. I'm like, an address, a wallet address, and then I'm just like, what the hell? And then one of my best friends, Dylan, he showed me how the ways, and so I got an ETH address, and the next day he sent me a number 27 card. He gave me number 27.
That's awesome. Yeah. Congratulations.
So
I hope you hold that to the grave at this point.
I was holding it. I've been holding it because it's just like, it's crazy to think about. And then that got me into everything else, just like the Discord and figuring figuring you out. And then I interviewed Max, and then I interviewed Travis. So it was a cool, like this, it opened up a floodgate to like all these people.
Yeah, one of the things that I'm pretty adamant about and that I've said a couple of times is like, it doesn't matter how many followers you have. It doesn't matter like what I know we like to follow people that have like a lot of like followers, like that feel like they have clout. But if you are participating genuinely, you're gonna eventually just land in people that think the same way as you, and you're gonna find your tribe, and like
Yeah.
that's the most important thing. You can build from the bottom up. You don't have to start from the top down. Most of the time when people think about things, they're like, okay, shit, well, I gotta appeal to fucking Beanie for whatever reason. They're gonna like do dumb shit to try to appeal to these people that don't have their like that aren't even thinking about you. But
Yeah.
that's like a top down approach. But if you're just making the stuff you want to make, or you're like reaching out and like, hey, can you come on this podcast? It's like, sure, like whatever, like cool, let's do it. Let's have it. Like, yeah, it's a completely unique opportunity to like just be authentic and like participate.
Is there anyone in mind, like not like you could think of that you would love to like pick someone's brain, like interview someone?
Julian Casablancas.
Julian. Oh my gosh, the Strokes.
Yeah.
Oh, he's.
Yeah, I'm wearing the Strokes jersey.
Oh,
right now,
damn!
Yeah.
There you go. I love Julian. That song "Boombox" with the Lonely Island.
Sure, yeah.
He played. One of my friends played that while we were working out, and the instructor's just like, "What the fuck is this song?" This is the boiled goose and stuff. I laughed sorry, but yeah, Julian. And one of my favorite songs too is with Daft Punk. I forget the name, but it has
Instant Crush.
Instant Crush. I love that song just because that guitar solo, just that nice little 5-second guitar solo. Like, I don't know, something about that song just makes me so happy.
Well, like like when I was in high school, like Strokes and shit, like that, they were like the rising bands and stuff like that. And so like all the music, like every kid had like a high school band, so the music we were doing was very like New York indie rock inspired kind of stuff. And
okay.
Like, it wasn't until even like the beginning of this year where like the Strokes released a new album at the end of last year, and like I got into it and I finally went back and like revisited a bunch of shit from my childhood and was like, okay, let me think about this stuff from a different perspective. And like I've just all year, all 11 months of the year, I've just been into the Strokes, and like
that's awesome.
That has brought me to like, okay, well, Julian is talking about like this philosophy shit and these different worldviews, and he's talking about all these different people. There's a lot of like layered messaging here. I don't know. I would love to have a conversation like that would complete the circle of everything for me if I could just like have 30 minutes just to, like pick his brain. So I'm hopeful. I think that at some point I expect him to enter the space, and maybe I can throw
there you go
ETH at him and. I don't think he's money motivated at all, but like I don't know. I think NFTs open this opportunity to like create this personal like conversation with the people that you're collecting the NFTs from. That's one of the biggest things that I've loved about the space is the hundreds of people that I've collected. I feel like I know a lot of them. I'm not just doing it blindly. I'm like, what's your story? So I don't know. Maybe there's a chance.
I love that. Well, I hope you get that opportunity.
Thanks.
I remember hearing "Someday." It was at a bowling alley, and I heard "Someday," and I was like, "This song's like." As a young kid, I was like, "This is freaking sweet." So I went back and went on to old YouTube and just looked up all their songs. Is like I think "Last Night's" my favorite song from them. I just love that song.
"Someday" has become one of my favorites. I think just like I don't know, it's got a lot of double meaning. Like the Maya says I'm lacking in depth bit. Like the assumption is he's talking about like an ex-girlfriend, but like Maya is also like some Indian like related god. Like there's like a lot of like layered subtext in these songs. It's like, how do I escape my ego? Like what am I doing in the moment? Like, am I enjoying the time that I'm spending here? Or like how can I present as actually I feel I am versus the way that I am expected to act? I don't know. It's just like a lot of really cool shit in each one of the songs that I'd never even thought about as a kid.
I didn't even make that connection.
Yeah,
you made that. Jeez. And then obviously talk about ahead of its time, or it wasn't ahead of time. Maybe it was just a certain amount of time because it's like so many hours played. But like Rock Band and Guitar Hero.
Oh yeah.
That was, and then playing Reptilla on Rock Band. Yeah. That was just my favorite. What did you
imagine if?
Oh yeah, go on.
I mean, imagine if I had just spent all that time just practicing my actual guitar instead of clacking plastic. I know it would have been transformative.
When's the last time you picked up a guitar?
Guitar, I've been fiddling around on it again recently. I've been doing the uke stuff. I'm trying
Okay.
to record a little EP of covers, just to get back into it. But
Oh,
yeah,
that's
it's
cool.
been recent. Yeah.
Do you mind if I ask like who you're trying to cover? Like, or
Oh, I'm just
random?
again like just stroke shit. Like
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to follow this fucking manic spree to the conclusion. Typically, I'm ADHD, which, if you give a shit, like there's a whole bit of like hyper focus when it comes to that, and so a lot of things that
Okay.
ADHD people do is like they get really good at something, and then they drop it, or they like get super interested in it and become an expert at it, and then they like get bored and they move on to the next thing. And I'm just waiting for this like strokes curse to end. Like it's been 11 months. Typically it's like 2 to 3 months kind of thing. And so I don't know. I feel like, we'll get there at some point. Maybe it has to end with the Jules.
See, everyone just needs a prescription of the strokes.
Yeah.
There we go.
That's what it is.
That'd be sweet. No, that'd be cool. And then like, I could see that in the NFT space. Like Strokes put out a token and you redeem it, and you could watch it like on YouTube Live or something. You get to go in there, they perform for you, or like do something like that. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, that'd be would that be a weird idea, or that could be? I'm sure it's already been talked about too.
Yeah, and I mean, like all the covers are like, not all of them, but there's a lot of there's a lot of like fine art stuff, like I'm gonna fuck everybody's names up, but like there's like fun.
No,
there's a lot of fine art, a lot of surrealism, a lot of abstract stuff in their artwork stuff, and I think there's probably the space has a lot of experimentation. I think they would do well from even just like the fine art perspective that they bring into their work.
Is Robek your actual name? You don't have to say your actual name, but like, how did you come up with Robek?
I was working at ad agency, and I was writing a lot, and I was writing from like kind of a gonzo perspective, in that like no editing, just like sort of investigative journalism perspective, but like a lot of opinion kind of thrown in, and I didn't want to kind of like overlap that with the work that I was doing for clients, because obviously there's reasons to not like do that. And so Robek came from, well, I'm not gonna get to the original thing, but it just basically came out of a desire to move away from my real life identity, because I was doing professional work, to be able to actually talk about things the way I wanted to talk about. So that was 2014.
Okay.
And there's been many times where I'm like, I'm done. I'm just gonna move on. I'm gonna come up with a different persona.
Okay.
But I think that in a lot of ways, the Robek persona is more me than me, like as the IRL like overlap, just because the IRL overlap is all just like professional based. So I have to act a particular way, have to be a particular person. Like when people call me my real name, or people I work with, and my mom.
You're like, what?
My partner too, I guess. But like, yeah, generally, I don't know. I like the freedom that not relying on like an ego provides in a lot of ways.
Robek's almost like your Spider-Man.
Yeah, basically.
In a way. Yeah. I used to go by Pacheco yourself, because my last name's Pacheco.
But I like that.
It's just, I was trying to, but I just go by Nicholas, of course, my name now. But check yourself. That is my PlayStation handle. So if anyone wants to play some games.
Excellent. What do you play?
I was getting heavy into like Splitgate, because I was
playing Splitgate on PC.
Yeah. What'd you think of that? I really like how if Portal had a baby with like Halo.
Yeah, I was really good at it. I think it did pretty good. I'm curious to see if it's going to survive with the Infinite release. I don't necessarily think that Halo has done a particularly good job in a long time. And like, I'm a big Quake guy, a big like.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So like I spent all 2020 like COVID times doing Doom and Quake like the whole entire year. And so Splitgate is like, I don't know, it's like playing in Matrix bullet time mode, where you're just like floating, and it's like
Portal.
The Twitch shit like works well. The Portal stuff, like people don't seem to understand how it works. So it's fun. I don't know. That was all right. They did a good job. Good interpretation. They had I like that they had OP guns. Like that makes we've moved away from this and this like balancing shit for some reason thing. But like Halo 1, I still think is the best Halo. The pistol in Halo 1 is like fucking sweet.
Slayer.
Yeah.
I love.
So I think Splitgate added a lot of really cool, like, did it faithfully. There were other games that came out before it that I was playing that was sort of Halo-esque. I don't remember the names of them now at this point.
Is there like I think there's called like not Valorant, but I don't even know either. I wish my next step is to go into PC because I have a PlayStation, right? But at PC, I feel like you do so much more with PC.
There's just a lot more options, and kind of like as how like things kind of continue to push in. Like I was a big PlayStation guy. I've always been like a big Sony guy. I opted for the Xbox this time, and the reason I opted for the Xbox was because they basically the Game Pass has a bunch of really like great access compared to PS Plus, but it's also all cross compatible with PC, and so like. I'm most of my day spent in front of these screens. Sometimes I like to sit back and use my controller, but like everything is almost controller native on PC now, so I can just choose where I want to be to do that stuff. So yeah.
What'd you think of like? Didn't Steam come out with like a article say they won't be in like the space, like the NFT space or something like that?
Yeah, but I don't think that is long term. From my perspective, and what I was saying, I literally was telling one of my friends who's a game dev who's developing a game on Steam, like to release on Steam, like 3 days before that came out. That I was like, you know what? I really think Steam is going to be like they're going to get it. They have the Steam Marketplace. They have like these. The ability to trade skins on open markets, like they got the value of the digital asset very early on. So I think they're going to naturally like move into the space. My assumption is that it's less of Steam putting their foot down from a perspective of like, we don't want to allow this. And it's more just dealing with their legal like things right now. You can't like, reminds me of when Steam was anti-porn games. There were a bunch like, Steam opened up to where anyone could release a game on Steam. Of course, this was several years ago. And of course, when that opened up, I think it was like Steam Green, whatever, you could just like vote something and like the community would upvote games they wanted. And then those would be curated into Steam's marketplace. People just made a bunch of porn games because why wouldn't they? Because porn is pervasively like part of the internet.
Yeah.
And Steam came out and was like, we're not going to allow porn games on Steam. We can't allow it. But like a year later, now there's tons of porn games on Steam because they eventually got through the legal shit that they had to get through to allow it to be there. So I think Valve is generally aware enough, like future thinking, to understand the practical implications of this stuff, but they're not going to do it where they're like, okay, I'm an independent publisher. I'm going to incorporate blockchain tech. It may or may not be a scam or Ponzi scheme. Like they got to figure out the systems. It's very much similar to the regulation conversation we were having before. They need to figure out how to do it in a way that they're not going to get burned down the road. So I still think Valve will come around. I trust Valve far more than Epic. And I don't think Epic, like I was buying Fortnite skins because I was buying them in like 2016, 2017 or whatever. Completely based on the expectation that Fortnite is going to become a distributed marketplace to trade this shit outside of V-Bucks. Like just so I'm going to have all these season 1 skins. I'm going to have all these are going to be like, these are investments. And I think Epic's going to be one of these branded licensed metaverses akin to like Steven Spielberg Ready Player One, where it's like, I got Star Wars and all this shit. And there's something for that. But I just think that Steam, I think Valve gets it, and they'll get there at some point to where they'll allow for it. They just got to figure out what the terms are.
Man, I didn't even think of that, of just holding skins and like, I got the number. I had this first season of Fortnite skin. Like that's funny to think about.
Well, I got educated when Steam did the AirPods drop for TF2 on. They had the EarPods, TF2 head. Gear,
that's cool.
If you open TF2 on a Mac between a certain time frame, you got dropped EarPod cosmetics, and those ended up becoming one of the main currencies for every trade on the Steam market was like they went for like $60 or something. Like you would trade them for an X amount of keys, and so that kind of opened me up to this mindset. Okay, it's like as soon as there's a market for a lot of these items, like especially the early items, very similarly, like you look at Curio and people are looking at it because of the antique or like the earliest like perspective. It just made sense to kind of like go. This is not investment advice.
No.
Epic may never open up Fortnite.
You just see a spike in Epic.
yeah. Epic may never open up Fortnite to be a distributed thing. But if you just look at the way playgrounds are going and like how they are opening more and more creator tools, like all of it eventually leads to the path. Okay, well we can make levels to fight in, or we can make a fucking playground to like. Have a business meeting in, or they're doing these weird like historical walkthroughs and like I don't know fucking events like concerts and shit that has nothing to do with Fortnite. So why are they doing all that? It's all metaverse based. They're using it as an engine for their metaverse.
It's cool to see. Yeah, it's like not ahead of its time, but it was like it's totally what's happening right now, but except for you just can't make money off of it and stuff, but you're buying all
you have to use their in-game currency, which is the great irony of the anti-NFT people is like, yeah, we'll spend money on V-Bucks or we'll spend money on some fucking Madden tokens or some bullshit and we'll buy the skins in the game. It's the same concept except you lose all of it if the servers go down.
Or you're done playing the game.
For it. Yeah, there's no secondary market for it, so you can't get rid of it. You just spend the money and that's it. But you're still like, why do I have to buy Call of Duty bucks to buy Call of Duty skins? Why can't I just buy them with cash? Why am I buying a credit as an intermediary?
That's their own cryptocurrency.
It's essentially the same thing.
Yeah.
And these companies will eventually catch up to the point of like, okay, how do we distribute these in a different way in that I can see a return? And I don't know. I gaming is halfway there to begin with. So most of these companies are going to figure it out. Some of them are going to do it really badly, and some of them are going to do it really like it's not going to be a better thing. But some are going to be brave enough to be like, "Fuck this WoW sword!" Like imagine if Blizzard's like every fucking drop in the game becomes a distributed asset, and they allow people to actually access the APIs and stuff to like leverage those assets in some other game. Like you're not losing value for that item in WoW if that same very scarce asset becomes a high value item in Forza, or if it becomes a high value like skin in Fortnite. Like if you're like, just because it says legendary sword of XYZ in WoW, and that's the initial interpretation of it, the metadata and like how these hashes are like these strings are just hashed, like people can use them to be whatever. This is kind of like where Loot like was trying to influence, I think, to a certain degree. So game companies, some will be brave enough to get it and they will excel and they will be early and they will create really cool fucking opportunities for people.
Yeah.
And some of them will try to just create the illusion of being distributed, and they will just continue to go the path that things are as they die slowly.
I'm already thinking now of like 30 to 40 years from now, you're gonna have like firmware updates, right, for your Tesla or like a car. But you go on the market and you want like a new bumper and you buy it, and then suddenly your car forms into that new bumper.
That would be crazy. I see that in a VR meta verse space. I don't know how you would do that in the real world. Unless,
that's my movie magic thinking.
No, but I mean, I guess you could do it from perspective of like, let's say you have holographic LEDs or something like that, where it just changes the cosmetics on it.
There you go.
I don't know if that's better though, because it gets to the point where like, okay, 10 years ago you could buy an iMac and you could open it up, you could replace the RAM, you could replace a hard drive. Now if you buy an iMac, you can't do shit to it because it's all a closed fucking piece of shit. Like they don't let you to. It's not modular anyway. So I can buy a Tesla. And based on your thing, if it has like cosmetics I can purchase, but you can only go through a certain authorized reseller, then that kind of sucks. Versus the mods, like just allowing mods for like anybody to access the APIs to be able to do that sort of stuff to sell them. It's a question of which future like people are going to end up landing on.
I'm going to buy a skin for my car. And I'm like, oh fuck, they have the same skin as me. Just get embarrassed. That's what happened in Grand Theft Auto though. You get a nice ass car, then suddenly everyone else has a nice ass car, and you're like, what the hell? I found this. It's like I've been looking for hours for this car, and now everyone has it, and I could steal it all. So I don't know, something that's another weird like Grand Theft Auto, I think is a very smart game as just like all the customization you could do, and like they're like doing role playing now in the space and stuff like this. It's like going all over my head now because I don't even play that game anymore. But I think like Grand Theft Auto 6 comes out in like a couple of years too. It's like, geez, they take.
Who knows? Maybe they'll figure it out. Maybe they'll do the same thing, but this time the assets are distributed. So maybe it will be a completely different sort of like marketplace.
I get we're already been talking. Well, with that little break, but we still like over an hour and 20 minutes. I don't know if you want to keep.
You can wrap up whenever you feel like.
I just don't want to hold you. That is fair.
Whatever you want to do, whenever you want to cut it.
No, I'm good. I really appreciate it. I hope to have you back on too. Like
for sure,
whenever you
I'm
want
happy to talk anytime.
I guess too on like to close it out too. Is there any not financial advice, but just like for someone new getting into the space and the idea of you don't think of buying something and able to flip it the next day and make a fortune, but like, do you have any like advice as what someone stepping into the NFT space for the first time or?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've already kind of mentioned it, but it's like participate authentically. And so from my perspective as a collector, people come and they're like, hey, I'm marketing the hell out of my like art. Why is nobody buying it? And it's like, well, are you just sharing your art, or are you actually like commenting on somebody's post on Twitter that's like, I've had a bad day, and you say, oh, I hope you feel better. Like that's very different like paths forward. It's like if you're just sharing your art into the void, no one's going to see it. But if you're actually participating, trying to understand like the communities that these people are a part of, you can find a tribe that appreciates you both for your technical ability and for who you actually are as a person. So my advice would be is find a place and start talking and see if it feels right to you. If you're in a place and you've joined it because there's a billion people there and they're just putting like pog emojis, I don't know what people do in the big servers. Like I assume it's just like Twitch spam. Like, is that creating anything of value for you? Like, what are you getting? If everybody's like, let's fucking go, rah, like it feels good, but like who's winning in these situations? Like who are the people like excelling? It's much better to find a project that resonates with you and engage authentically, figure out like what kind of value you can add as a participant to it. Like you are interviewing all of us because you got involved with Curia through Gary Vee, giving you a card. Like this is a path that you've taken, and it is a natural progression of how this kind of stuff works. It's like, hey, you reached out to us. Like if you had done the same thing, let's say in Bored Apes, likely the response would have been like, who are you? Like how many followers? Why should I get on your thing? Are you just trying to make a name for yourself?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not saying that would necessarily be the case, but it's like there's just different paths, and the path that is the one where you connect with the people and you're actively engaging with them is the one that I feel like creates long-term sustainability and growth in the space. So it also helps you just do your own fucking research and like understand the communities behind these things. Like there's a lot of different values that we all have, and there's nothing wrong with wanting to make money off of like purchasing some asset that you think will make money.
Yeah.
But what do you do once you make that money? Do you put it back into the project? Do you try to find another project that resonates with you? Do you cash out? Like these are questions that you need to consider outside of like, I think people should get to the point where they feel comfortable. Don't get me wrong. Like if you make a fucking 500 ETH sale, by all means, please don't feel bad if you take a little bit out to make things comfortable, but also consider maybe not taking all of it out. And what, like I said, we're early, but not early from the perspective we're getting rich. We're early because we can influence the direction in the space. So if you could have anything you wanted and you had capital to do it, what do you want to do with it? Like, where do you see the future being? So that's kind of my takeaway.
All right. Well, shoot, we'll end it right there then. Robek, I appreciate you coming on so much, and like I really think you're a cool, interesting person. Like I know you're the Robek's, you're Spider-Man, but I still know it's like true to yourself. So I just really I respect you just being yourself. That when a lot of people on the internet age, it's like they play someone, but like with you, I just feel like you're just yourself. You're just eating cold burritos and pizza. Just going, doing your thing.
What can you do?
All right, man.
Well, thanks for having me on. I've enjoyed the conversation. It was refreshing one where I don't feel like I had to do anything in particular. So hope we can chat again.
Yeah, we're just freaking chilling. Like me, this is like I don't even know what this is. I just hung it up. So.
I thought it was a shower curtain. So
actually, my shower curtain is here. So I'm just because my closet doors just fell off one day, and we just put up a shower rod. Bam, easy access.
It sounds good. It sounds like a good studio setup.
All right, man. Well, you have a good night. All right.
Yeah, you too.
Right,
thanks.
Thank you for coming
so
on.
much.
See ya.
Yeah. Bye.